In this video, I'll show you how I turn this bag of fresh frozen vegetables and turn it into a healthy, easy to prepare addition to my dehydrated trail meals. With winter coming on, I wanted to start preparing a few extra dehydrated meals to be able to take out with me. So I was going through the supplies I had and realized that I was short on fresh frozen vegetables, the ones that I dehydrate. And previously what I had done is taken the bags of frozen vegetables and just spread them out while still frozen in my dehydrator and dehydrated them that way. What I found, however, is when I went to rehydrate them that it took longer than other materials in the soups would take. So they didn't fully rehydrate the way I would have liked them. So this time what I'm going to do is bring some water to a boil and parboil the vegetables just for a few minutes, more or less blanching them. Then I'll dehydrate them and see how they turn out later. Okay, so the first step is to bring a pot of water to a boil. And yes, I did have the range hood on to bring out some of the steam, but I had to turn it off to film the video. So just let me show you a sample of what the vegetables look like now. So here is what we have. A few of the vegetables, and all I'm going to do at this point is just dump the whole bag of frozen vegetables into the pot of boiling water. It is going to take a minute for that to come back to a boil. Once it comes back to a boil, I'm going to give it less than 5 minutes to blanch in the water, because I don't want to completely cook them. All I want to do is start the cooking process, and then we'll stop it, and we won't have a vegetable that gets too soft, so we can dehydrate it. We'll still have some texture. It should also retain most of its nutrition this way, because it won't have all been leached out by the hot water, and it should retain a lot of its color as well. So I'll bring it back when the next step is to drain them and dry them off. Alright, so the vegetables have been boiling for just 3 minutes, just enough to blanch them, take some of the firmness out of them without cooking them completely. And now I'll pour them into the colander here on the sink. Give them a little shake, give them a chance for as much water as possible to drain out of them. And then I'm going to spread them out on a cookie sheet with some paper towel to dry them out a little bit, and I'll bring it back when I go to do that. Okay, so the vegetables are all drained in the sink. Spread them out as evenly as I can get them, I guess. Good. Use my spoon, just spread them out. All I'm doing at this time is just taking out any excess moisture, so this isn't a critical component. It will just mean there's less moisture in the dehydrator when I go to spread them on the trays. And I'll just give them a couple of seconds there, let them steam off and some paper soak up the moisture, and then we'll move downstairs to the dehydrator. All right, so the vegetables have dried off, well, more or less anyway, on top of the paper on the cookie sheet. Now it's time to spread them out on the dehydrating trays. Now, a couple of things I wanted to mention at this point while I spread these out. First off, the vegetable mixture that I have is a little bit of everything. There's green beans, green peas, corn, carrots, and lima beans. So a little bit of everything. So I checked the recommendations, and most of the recommendations say for green beans and carrots that you blanch them for 2 minutes before you dehydrate them. But what I found before is that the vegetable that takes the longest to rehydrate is the corn. So what I wanted to do was make sure that the corn had a good chance of getting a head start on the cooking process or blanching process, just enough so it would rehydrate well with the other vegetables. So I've spread my vegetables out, and this will be tray number 1. Now, in spreading the vegetables out, no magic here. You're just looking to spread them out as evenly as possible. You don't want them laying on top of each other, any depth of them. If you get airflow through them and around them. So don't overstack your tray. You should have enough for a bag of vegetables like that in the tray that you have. And so we're going to stack these vegetables, or spread the vegetables out on my trays, and we're going to put them on the dehydrator, and then we'll come back when they're finished. Now, the recommended drying time for vegetables is in the 10 to 12 hour range at about 125 degrees Fahrenheit. So I'm going to set this for 4 hours and come back. Now, This is a new dehydrator to me, and I can set the temperature and the time, much better than my older dehydrator that I had, but I still want to be able to come back and check, because even though this dehydrator is designed so that the air flows evenly through all the trays, I just want to make sure that each of the trays is getting dry at about the same rate. The other dehydrator I had to rotate the trays every couple of hours because the lower trays would dry faster than the top trays. Now, if you don't have a dehydrator, you can still do this. You can do this quite easily. If you can spread them out on that cookie sheet like I had, open your oven up, set your oven for about 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Leave the oven door ever so slightly and let the air circulate through the oven. That'll work as well. Might be a little bit harder on your power bills, but you can still dehydrate your vegetables that way. So I'm going to stack these, put them on the dehydrator, set it for about 4 hours at 125 degrees Fahrenheit. I'll come back and check it. If they're done, I'll bring it back. If not, I'll let you know how long it takes to get them to a good dry state. Now, the reason why 125, I didn't mention that, the reason why 125, if you dehydrate them too hot, what tends to happen with the vegetables, and I can certainly see this with the corn and the beans, or the lima beans and the peas, is that the outside of it will dry and harden, but the inside may still retain moisture that you can't feel because it's so firm. That moisture can lead to spoilage when you go to store them. So we want to dry them quite slowly at a fairly low temperature over a longer period of time to get a good even dryness throughout. All right, I'll bring it back when I think that they're finished and we'll show you what it looks like. All right, it's been 8 hours since I started the drying process. I had set the dehydrator for 4 hours, and I came down, I found that they were still soft, so I reset it for another 4 hours, and they're perfect. So let me show you what the end product looks like. I don't spill them all over the floor, that is. So here is the end product, and I'll give you as close up as I can to the camera. You can see how much smaller they are than the originals. Very dry. So what you're looking for is, and I'll pick a piece of corn up, is I am trying to dent that with my thumbnail. It is not denting. It is hard, like a little rock almost. Same thing for the peas, same thing for the beans, and actually they're crunching, and same thing for the carrots. And the lima beans are the same as well. So that's basically what I'm looking for in a dry product. It's something about like that. So what I'm going to do is be transferring all these from the dehydrator into a freezer bag, and then I'll be able to put them aside for storage. Okay, let's wrap this video up. All right. There we are. There's the finished product. It doesn't look like a lot when you compare it against the original bag of frozen vegetables. It's about a third of the size and about a third of the weight of what's there. So that's the water that's been removed. But there's enough here, if I combine it with some other vegetables and some soup bases and the like, to get about maybe 6 meals out of what I have here. So that's a pretty cost-effective way of preparing some trail meals, is to add this to a few other things. Now, question is how long will these last in this dehydrated state? Well, I made some probably this time last year, and they are still good. I have a little bit of them left, so I just wanted to make sure I had enough to bag up with some others, so they're still in good shape. Had I vacuum sealed them and left them that way, I'm sure they would have lasted even longer. Even in this dried state, I suppose I still could put them in the freezer and they should last even longer. If they're not exposed to air or moisture, they should last almost indefinitely. Now, that's not a guarantee, of course, because there's too many factors involved here, but these are very, very dry, so they should last quite a long while. Okay, so what I wanted to do with this video was just a little bit of work on how to dehydrate some vegetables, that you can do this yourself at home, either with a dehydrator or with an oven. What I'm going to do in another follow-up video is talk about how I put those meals together and how I prepare them on the trail. So if you're interested, you may want to stay tuned for that future video. But until that one comes out, get out and explore. Take that path less traveled. It'll make all the difference. Bye for now.